Hello and welcome to the Racing Postcast, proudly sponsored by Unibet. We're back for another brilliant weekend of racing. We've got one of the highlights of the jump season from Newbury in the William Hill Hurdle, one of the richest races of the season and a proper punting feast. We'll get stuck into the selections for the big Saturday Handicap, which is one of 4 live ITV races we'll be looking at Newbury, which of course includes the return of Sir Gino, the brilliant winner over Christmas. He's back. Taking the same route towards the Arkle as the great Altior. Will he win? Is he a banker for the Cheltenham Festival? We'll be seeing what our panel think. But it's not just Newbury for Arkle trials. We've also got 3 live races at Warwick, where L'Eau Du Sud, the third favourite in the market, returns in the Unibet Kingmaker. Our sponsors, Unibet, are the sponsor of all 3 live ITV races there, which we'll be looking at in detail. But of course, it's that time of the show to say, as ever, do make sure you rate, review and subscribe. But chaps, before we get stuck into Newbury and Warwick, it's probably worth talking about Ireland, isn't it? 2 brilliant days at the Dublin Racing Festival. We'll come to you first. The Postcast newcomer Liam Headd, our Lambourn man. Bit far out of your jurisdiction is the Dublin Racing Festival. What were your key takeouts from it? Brilliant weekend.
It was, James. It was a brilliant weekend. And it is a bit out of my jurisdiction, obviously being in Lambourn, but I must highlight that the sole Lambourn runner, good and clever for Warren Greytrex, obviously ran a terrific race behind one of Willie Mullins' stars there, Kodak de Board. And again, it's just some brilliant placing by the trainer. Obviously, he's been there to the Dublin Race Festival before. He's won, obviously, with La Bagoire. So it was great to see the yard pick up some valuable prize money in that race.
Yeah. Robbie, you are the anti-postman. Were we
guilty?
Ripping up betting slips? Were we happy with our positions at the end of the Dublin Race Festival? How do you sit now?
I was a bit naughty. I backed Kopek for the Supreme at 14-1 before that, so I was rubbing my hands when he went in. But I thought the most interesting race of all actually was the Dublin Chase won by Solness, because this horse has just sort of come from nowhere. He ran in the Grand Annual last year and got well beaten, and now he's proven himself to be one of the best chasers around. You're sort of looking at it and thinking, well, did he get an easy lead in that? But the sectional time showed that he actually produced a stonking performance. He finished at a 98% finishing speed. That suggests he's gone quite hard the whole way. The only horse to get near him was Marine Nationale, and then he went away from Marine at the end. So I think that was a top class performance. That was the performance I was most impressed with, and it was nice to see William Mullins not winning absolutely everything there.
No, makes a nice change. Of course, he had the whitewash of the grade ones last year. Ed, so much market mover. I imagine your traders slept well on Sunday night.
Yeah, they did. My phone was pinging left, right, and centre with moves, as you would expect. Lots of horses running there that will line up at Cheltenham in March. I mean, Kopek de Board was absolutely floored. I'm glad Robbie's got 14s because it's more like evens now. Final Demands 2-1. That was impressive. I mean, Galloping Des Champs, what a horse he is. I could hear the cheering from my front room when he went past the winner for a 3rd time of that race, equaling the great Jadami, who did it when I used to follow racing inside out. But yeah, Galloping Des Champs, 8-15 now for the Gold Cup. You can't see anything beating him. And the one that took my eye was Ballyburn, because obviously Ballyburn is a horse that was running over 2 miles against Sir Gino at Kempton, and I think we all said he looks more like a 2.5-3 miler, and he looked better. He looked better the further he goes. So over 3 miles plus, I think Ballyburn could be a serious horse. But yeah, there were so many good performances to look back on, and that Dublin Racing Festival that Pat Keogh organised about 5 or 6 years ago is really coming to fruition, and is a fantastic festival in its own right.
Yeah, brilliant performance from Galloping Des Champs, wasn't it? It was something quite special. And as you say about Ballyburn, it leads us very nicely on to this week, where we've got Sir Gino, who is the big talking point. But let's start at Newbury, where, as we time recording on Thursday afternoon, the ground is soft, good to soft in places. And we're going to start not with the Sir Gino race. We're going to build ourselves up to that with the 150, which is the William Hill Handicap Hurdle, where we do get to see another leading Cheltenham Festival fancy in Horticouleurs for Rebecca Curtis. The National Hunt Chase is 6-1 with Unibet for that National Hunt Chase, having a warm-up over hurdles. Of course, that race is now a handicap, so just preserving the mark. But he's not favourite. Your favourite here is the 7-2 Up for Parole. Horticouleurs is 5-1, joint with Magical King at 5-1. Stuart Edmonds having a bit of a tricky time, the winner in 36 days. Shut Up Shirley, 11-2. Tiny Tetley, 7-1. And Kruger Park at 15-2. Let's start with you again, Liam. We got a Lambourn favourite. Do we have a Lambourn tipster for the favourite?
We do. I'm siding with Jamie Snowden and Up for Parole in this one. I was at Foss last month to see Up for Parole win for the first time in, I think it was about three years or so. He obviously stayed on really well over this trip, and the ground should really suit this horse. Jamie Snowden, as we've alluded to on a number of occasions in recent weeks, is having a terrific season. And this horse has just sort of demonstrated that the work that the yard's put in. I think he's going to be running off a mark of 127. He won off that mark at Haydock a few years ago, and he's really been putting in the consistent performances for Folly House. So I think the trip, the ground will suit. So yeah, it's Up for Parole for me.
Yeah, you mentioned the ground there. I mean, Ed, we're going to come on to that big cliche. Every time there's a bit of cold weather, it's going to be dead, it's going to be tacky, but Up for Parole would handle that well. Are you siding with the favourite as well?
Yeah, I am Up for Parole. Everything really that's been said by Liam, can't really add to it, apart from the fact that he has won a couple of times at Foss Lass. And as you well know, Foss Lass was created based on Newbury. So they've taken the configuration and the way that Newbury looks. And if he's worked well there and he's won 2 of his 3, you'd expect him to go well at Newbury. As Liam said, he's been much better than the 127. He came third in the Lanzarote off 129, and he's come back to form. 9 years old, he wouldn't be improving, but he's shown that he's done this before, this sort of mark and higher. So I'd be Up for Parole in this particular contest. I mean, the second favourite, Horticouleurs, definitely got chances, and it is an open race. So definitely chances for other horses, but yeah, my money will be on Up for Parole.
2 shouts to the favourite. You going to make it free, Robbie?
Nah, certainly not. This horse is a bit of a mud lover, I've always thought. I didn't think I might be wrong, but I didn't think the weather's going to be that bad at Newbury. Although this was at the start of the week, it looks like I'm now seeing a bit of snow, which is, that might tilt it in Up for Parole's favour. But I don't know. I thought that I want to say one thing. I've got Horticouleurs very much on my mind for the National Hunt Chase. I like it when horses are protecting their marks and sort of prepping over hurdles. I think this horse is he could be going places. But thought Shut Up Shirley was well handicapped for Robert Wolford, who's enjoying a really good season. He's seeking a 4-timer. The first 2 of those wins were in the winter of 2022. But he came back in brilliant form at Fontwell on Boxing Day, won by a long way from a very short price favourite. He's up £8 in a better race, but I'd like to think there's a bit more to come. He's had a nice 44-day break between then. So I'll be less concerned about the bounce factor. They've not turned him out quickly. They've given him a bit of time to recover. And I think £8 is probably pretty fair for that. And he seems versatile, go on the ground. He's unexposed over 3 miles. So I think he'll be there or thereabouts.
James, I should also mention at this stage that I should also mention we're money back offer in this race. So one of our flagship offers in the opening race on ITV, the 150 at Newbury, money back. Please go to the site for the full terms and conditions.
There we go. Well, that's our first race. Let's move on to the second. This is the first of 2 Grade 2s on the day, the William Hill Denman Chase. We've had a bit of revival for some horses in the race in recent years. Shishkin, of course, won this. Native River won this in the season. He won the Gold Cup. Now Brave Man's Game looks to really bounce back from what's been not quite a good season for him so far. Perhaps he'll be proving a Grand National contender. He's 50-1 for it with the National. Needs to improve and take a step forward, but he is favourite here. He is 2-1 favourite, Brave Man's Game for Paul Nicholls and Harry Cobden. Jello at 7-2. Hitman second in this race twice in the last 2 years, 5-1. Le Patron, 6-1. Garlaw, 8-1. Fugitive, who's also got the entry at Warwick and the Veterans Chase. This is his first preference race, so we're more than likely to see him here. Sam Brown at 13 years old is 12-1, and El Dorado Allen, a winner of this race in 2022, should I say, is 14-1. Robbie, where do we like here?
Yeah, this is a horrible race because you can just find cracks in so many of them. Like Brave Man's Game is 2-1 favourite. He's not won since 2022. I mean, he's been running good races, sure, but I doubt he's nowhere near as good as he was, and he's in a first-time tongue tie. And they're talking about the Grand National with him. Jello was poor last time at Windsor, I thought. He's still got a bit to prove going left-handed. He's second favourite. Hitman's third favourite. He never wins. I can't see him winning here. I'm going to ignore the one I'm going to tip because I'll say Law. I don't think it will stay. Fugitive won't be good enough. Sam Brown and Eldorado ran in veterans races, got beaten in them recently. So I think what's wrong with Le Patron? I think Gary Moore's yard form is turning around a little bit lately, and he just won really impressively the last time around Newbury, 2 starts back after a break. It was over 2 mile 4 as a handicap. He's going to have to step up on that form, but he wasn't stopping at the line. I could see him going well over an extra few furlongs. He's got grade 1 novice form. I'd like to think there's a bit more to come over this trip. I can ignore his last run at Cheltenham. I think it's a bit of an afterthought after the Newbury win. He was turned out quickly. That might not be his track anyway. He's run poorly there a couple of times now. And he's just the one. I mean, this is a sort of race where you can get a sort of Newbury specialist come into the fore. A couple of years ago, Zanza won it by 16 lengths. He had a lot to find. And Le Patron won't have anything to find a lot of these. So I think with the sort of course angle and the potential for more to come, Le Patron looks the obvious bet for me.
Yeah, he's 1 from 1 at Newbury. So certainly has the right profile for it. Ed?
Yeah, interesting selection. I mean, I was looking at the same sort of angle. There's lots of these horses that you can put a line through. I mean, Braesman Game has been given a great chance here, isn't he? Been found a fantastic race. If you look at the races he's been contesting, but you always think about these horses when they're at their best, don't you? Can we think about the Braveman's Game that has been running the last 2 or 3 runs? Would he still be good enough to win this? I don't know, but he's got a great chance on a track that he absolutely loves. He's 3 from 3 at Newbury, but he's a little bit too short in the betting for me, given that he hasn't shown much form over the last few runs. If you look at the RPRs as well, hasn't been running up to the standard that we've known him of late. So maybe he is just on the wane. I'd go with the horse right at the bottom, number 8, Sam Brown. Dead A. I just thought each way. I know it's not particularly a race to do an each way bet with it being a conditions a fifth of the odds, but I just thought Sam Brown had a lot going for him here. I know Anthony Honeyball very well in terms of this horse because he's running a lot of Unibet veterans chases. In fact, he won the final of the race over at Warwick last year, the 3 mile version. And I spoke to him afterwards, and he said the horse is still, although he was 12 then and now he's 13, he said he races like an 8-year-old, 9-year-old. He's got good back form. He's living up to that form if you look at his last few runs. And I just think that he will run a race to be placed. I think he'll be creeping forward, and there'll be a lot of horses that will try and win the race and will possibly pay for that close home on a track that he does like. He came 10th, which was a little bit disappointing, I suppose, but that was in the Coral Gold Cup. I mean, that was a good race on good to soft ground. He needs it softer, so the snow and the soft ground will make it slower. I can see him sneaking a place, and I think he's got an outside chance of winning at around about 14, 16 to 1. Although he has been running in veteran races, and Robbie makes that point. I mean, Copperhead beat him last time at Market Raisin by a length and 3/4. Copperhead is a fantastic horse this season. He's had 5 runs. I think he's won 3 and finished second twice. He's finding his form. And there was about 16 lengths back to third that day at Market Raisin last time out. I think Sam Brown is running as well as he's ever run for the last 2 seasons. He is 13. It does take a little bit to select him to win, but I think at 14, 16 to 1, it's worth an each way selection.
Yeah, can certainly see the appeal of Sam Brown. Did run a cracker last time, and I'd actually say his first run this season was the best first run he's had for donkey's years anyway. And I agree with you about Brave Man's Game. I wouldn't want to be touching him, but at the same time, you wouldn't be surprised if he goes and wins this on the Bridle, wouldn't you? He's got so much back class. Liam, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I am going to side with the Paul Nicholls horse, but it's Hitman I'm going to go for. I just think that he's been running pretty well, without winning. Obviously, he's not won in a while now, but he ran a pretty decent race off the top weight at Ascot last time behind Teresita. Obviously, he's finished second in this race the last twice, off a mark of 160. He's £4 lower now. So I just think that this is the right opportunity. It's a wide open race. the Yard have obviously got a decent record in this. I think they've won it twice since 2019. And yeah, I just think that Nichols does like to send some of his big hitters to Newbury. So I think Hitman is the one I'll be taking forward for this one.
Yeah, our secret investor turned over Clandazoba, who was second string at the time for Paul Nichols only a few years back. The Hitman fan club is a dark place to go, Liam. So I wish you the very best of luck with your selection. I've been there myself many a time. But let's move on to the 3 o'clock at Newbury. This is the William Hill Game Spirit Chase. 8 years on from Altior running in this and winning it so well, and then winning the Arkle. Nicky Henderson is going down the same path. So Gino looked brilliant at Kempton's. Ballyburn's boosted the form. Is he the real deal? Is he the Arkle banker? We'll find out a bit more about him on Saturday. He's the 4-9 favourite with Unibet. Matata 7-1 Windsor. Wins so good at Windsor the other day. Edwardstone, who's won this race last season, was a good runaway winner of it. Is 17-2. Liberty Hunter, a bit of a dark horse in that champion chase, betting 11-1, Master Chewy 18s and JPR1 at 20s. Liam, you are our man in Lambourn. Sir Gino is so exciting. Tell us what you think of his chances here. And is he a banker for the Arkle as well?
Well, I think he's nailed on to win this on Saturday. He's just the class horse in the race. I mean, it was Nicky Henderson had obviously been waxing lyrical about how he jumps a fence at home, and we all seen, you know, how that transition on the track at Kempton over the festive break. I mean, to do what he did in the fashion that he did to a horse, and a classy horse like Ballyburnn at Kempton, was just so special. And I think, you know, once again, it looks like Nicky Henderson's got such an incredible chaser on his hands. Obviously, like you mentioned, the Yard have used this race before with Altior. Altior obviously won this, I think, 3 years in a row. He won it in his first season as a chaser. So, you know, he is just the classy horse in the race, and I just can't see a way from getting beat. In terms of the Arkle, it's obviously interesting because, you know, we mentioned L'Eau Du Sud obviously runs at Warwick, so it'll be interesting to see how the two fare on over the weekend. But at this stage, Sir Gino would be my banker for the Arkle as well.
Yeah, would Mashborough give you anything to worry about after Sunday or Sunday?
Yeah, it's obviously, I mean, Nicky Henderson was well and truly expecting the challenge to come from Ireland, but based on what we've seen, you know, at Kempton, and obviously I've been down to 7 Mile a few times now this season, and he just takes everything so easy in his work. So Gino, I've obviously spoken to a lot of the people that deal with him day in, day out, and they say he couldn't be in a better position. So I just think that he's the class horse in this race this weekend, and he will be seriously hard to beat at Cheltenham.
Yeah, good agree with you. For those listening in, Robbie Wilders was at the very edge of his seat there listening in to Liam. Have you got something controversial for us, Robbie? Do you think he's a banker? Is there anything you would look at and want to take him on? He's 8-13 in the Arkle as it stands.
Yeah, I normally would, but this is why times are so good, because you look at what he did at Kempton and it just puts it into perspective. Like, he absolutely, I mean, he dominated Ballyburnn, but he ran that race in a 4-second quicker time almost than the Desert Orchid, and that they didn't hang around in that. So it's clear that he is an absolute monster. I expect him to be able to give the weight away to some of these horses. I think he's for sure one of the best horses in training, and it'd be a real surprise. I mean, you're thinking a novice sort of giving weight away to experienced horses, sort of proper grade 2 horses, you get found out. But I really like what's in from him, and he's going to take an awful lot of beating at Cheltenham.
Ed, I'm sure we'll be having the blog with Nicky Henderson up in not too long, and I'm sure the readers will be watching that closely to see what Nicky thinks about his chances at Newbury, as well as what he thinks about the Arkle more generally. Is it straightforward here, do we think?
I don't think it's as straightforward as everyone thinks it is. I think he'll win, but Matata put in such a visually impressive performance at Windsor. I couldn't quite believe it when I saw it, and therefore I'm still sceptical about the result. But 12 stone in a handicap, winning by all those lengths against Unexpected Party, easing up, I think, by 10 lengths. I mean, that a lot of horses could do that at top class. I understand that, but he's always been a horse, and I used to speak to Darryl Jacob about Matata. If he learned how to settle, he'd be a hell of a machine, and he has learned to settle. And he probably needs it softer if he's going to have a chance in any top grade race, heavy even, because he goes through it and the others don't. But that was such a visually impressive display at Windsor. There's not much between them at ratings, given the 5-year-old and the 7-year-old status as well. It's probably too big a gap in the betting, but Sir Gino's still got so much scope, isn't he? And I'm not going to oppose him here. Nicky's had 10 runners in this race in this century. 5 of them have won. You mentioned Altior, a novice. He won the Wayward Lad, won the Arkle, and of course Sprinter Sacra in 2012 won the Wayward Lad, won the this race, and then won the Arkle. So this could be the third horse running that is a novice for Nicky Henderson that wins the Wayward Lad, wins this race, and then wins the Arkle. He's certainly a well-chosen path for the trainer. And I'm not going to oppose Sir Gino, but I think Matata is a decent animal on very heavy ground, and I'd be interested in races in the future on that substance, on that ground in top quality for that horse. But yeah, Sir Gino should win it, and actually at 4-9 could be. I mean, some people might think that's short. I think Sprinter Sacra went off 2-5, and Altior went off 3-10. So is a bigger price than those two.
Yeah, just to back up, Matata 25-1 and Liberty Hunter 25-1 for the Champion Chase. So perhaps see a little bit of information for that race as well, not just the Arkle. Let's move on to the highlight at Newbury. This is the William Hill Handicap Hurdle, Britain's richest handicap hurdle, ferociously competitive as you'd expect, in 87 grand to the winning horse. The favourite is 7-2 Secret Squirrel. Joyeuse for Nicky Henderson, looking to win this race for a 7th time, 11-2. Navajo Indy, 6-1 winner for Jerry Fielden at the track earlier this season. Favour and Fortune, 17-2. Fiercely Proud for the connections that had handstands win the Scilly Isles last week is 9-1. Washington, 11s, and Mirabad, 12. Hugely competitive race, Robbie Wilders. What is going to win?
I think that Secret Squirrel probably will win, but I'm going to have to look elsewhere because he's 7-2. And I'm absolutely kicking myself that I didn't take. He was 20-1 for this race before he won at Windsor. I liked it at Windsor. I didn't have a penny on, so I'm going to have to sort of hope he doesn't win and look for something else. I thought Joyeuse, I didn't like her one bit. She's not really got the form to be competitive in this sort of race. I don't think she was really an ideal candidate for this drop-in trip after how she run over 2.5 miles at Cheltenham last time. Navajo Indy, interesting back at Newbury, won the Jerry Field in a good style, but I thought the most interesting one was Favour and Fortune for Alan King. He's been on the sort of periphery of Grade 1 level. He was second in the Aintree Formby to Django Bay, who's now top class novice chaser. Ran okay in the Supreme, best of the British there, and then he won the Scottish County Hurdle at Ayr. Hang on, no, it's the Scottish Champion Hurdle, isn't it? Scottish Champion Hurdle. He wasn't right. I know Alan King sort of said he wasn't gonna. He had a bit of a setback at the start of the season. He then ran at Ascot to sort of blow the cobwebs away a little bit. He's been aimed at this race. The drying ground's in his favour. I think he's got a few pound in hand, but you are going to need that in this race. So I just thought 10-1, he was a fair choice shout.
Interesting comments there, Ed, regarding Joyeuse, who listeners and viewers may remember. This was the horse who had £30 in hands, according to Graham Rodwell earlier in the season. Was then subsequently beaten, unfortunately. Related to Epatton, I do just wonder whether this horse is priced a little bit on hype and potential rather than what we've actually seen. Albeit, potential might be exactly what you need in a handicap like this.
I think you're right, James. I think certainly given the connections, all the bookmakers are being a little bit careful with the odds on offer for Joyeuse. Obviously, last year's winning owner, trainer, and jockey with Iberica Lord, who's in the race again, but not the choice of Nico de Boinville. He's gone for Joyeuse. And I must say, I understand what Robbie's saying. Hasn't probably got the form in the book to win it, and you are taking a step up, and you are asking her to do something that maybe she hasn't shown. But she's got every chance of doing that. It is a competitive handicap. Do you want to be taking around about 7-1 on potential? That's another good question. I'm going to, because I think she's got a lot of improvement. The one thing that Robbie mentions as well that I have in the back of my mind a slight worry is the 2.5 down to 2. But she did win at Taunton over 2, and she ran at Ascot over 2. And this will be a fast run race. Who remembers last year, Iberica Lord smuggled into the race by Nico on the far side and basically just staying on to beat horses that have been pelting it from the word go. I think this is going to have a similar look. I think Joyeuse is going to be smuggled into the race. And the fact she does stay 2 and a little bit more than 2 potentially is only a good thing, I think. She should have won that race at Cheltenham. I think Nicky thinks she should have done as well, but the race was run at a crawl and there was at least 12, 14 horses within 3 or 4 lengths coming down to the final hurdle. And her inexperience told, she got a little bit caught as well. Both Nicky and Nico, I spoke to them about that run, and they both thought that she didn't get the clearest of runs. May not look that bad on the video, but I think they thought that with the best faster run race, she would have been in a bit more freedom, which would have helped an inexperienced type in the closing stages. And the winner of that race is unbeaten over hurdles. So it was not a bad performance, only on a third run in effect. So I'm going to take a leap of faith and think Joyeuse can make the improvement to win this race. But, because she hasn't got the form in the book, she's carrying just 10 stone 7. Nico's going down to that weight to ride her. I think she's worth a chance. Again, 7 to 1 is a bit short, but I think she's got a great chance.
You sounded more confident, Ed, as you went on there.
I was going to say, I do get what Ed's saying. She is related to Epatante as well. Like, you do have to take notice when they've aimed a lightly raced horse at this sort of race because they have a good record in it. So it'll be interesting. But yeah, it's a price thing, really.
Liam, where do you stand on Joyeuse?
Well, I'll happily take that price on her. I think, like you said, she's very lightly raced. Connections have obviously had this race in mind. Obviously, they won it last year, and like Ed said, it's interesting that it is the selection of Nico de Boinville, obviously winning jockey from last year. She won over this trip, at Taunton. I don't think she'll have any issues with the drop in trip. It wasn't a bad run behind that Gordon Elliott horse at Cheltenham. She obviously did beat Take No Chances of Dan Skelton's into second. Dan Skelton's horse finished third, and Take No Chances has gone on to win a Grade 2 at Ascot next time. So the form does sort of speak some volume there. So I just think that on a flat track like Newbury, she will have the pace to deal with what's thrown at her on Saturday. So for me, she's my tip for that big race.
Yeah, can certainly see the case, Liam. I liked Washington here. Harry Durham had a bit of a difficult season, but this horse to me looks like could well be a good price and excellent form in the book. Went to Ireland, won a decent handicap. Was always a good horse when he was trained by Ollie Murphy. Washington never quite delivered. I wonder if he's going to get his big day on Saturday. Join us after the break. We'll be looking at Warwick, where we've got the Unibet Kingmaker. L'Eau Du Sud is a star attraction there, and Robbie Wilders has got a Grade 1 winning horse in a handicap he's going to tip for us at a big price. But first, we'll take a quick break.
The Big Punting Survey is back. Punters, it's time to have your voice heard on major betting issues. Plus, you'll automatically be entered into a prize draw for one of 5 £50 Amazon vouchers. Visit racingpost.com/BPS or scan the QR code to take the survey today.
So then we move on to Warwick, where the ground is also soft, good to soft in place at the time of recording on Thursday afternoon. And let's start with that 205 at Warwick, the Unibet Kingmaker Novices Chase. Edwardson won this race in 2022 before winning the Arkle. Will we see a big challenger emerge for Sir Gino with L'Eau Du Sud? He's 10 to 1, third favourite for the Arkle as it stands. And he's 4 to 1 on to win on Saturday afternoon for the Skeltons. Rabot 100 to 30, Tedley 25 to 1, Risk in the ground 40s. We've got a 1 to 4 favourite, Liam. Does he win?
Yeah, simple as that. He's the standout horse in the race, and he's seriously transformed at Dan Skelton's yard this season. And it's no doubt that, there's no doubt about his star quality, and it's clear to see why he's so hot in the betting for the Arkle. His 3 starts this season, he's won at a near combined 25 lengths, and he's just seriously shown huge progression with each run. Obviously, the race he won, the Henry VIII at Sandown's, obviously worked worked well. Soul Icon won the Desert Orchid next time out. So I just think he'll be very hard to overturn this weekend.
Yeah. Robbie, L'Eau Du Sud, I mean, with a look towards the Arkle, we've got a horse who's already jumped very well around Cheltenham. He's already won a Grade 1. He's 10-1 for the Arkle. Mashborough, was looked very good at the Dublin Racing Festival, of course, is a Triumph Hurdle winner, 4-1. Is there any value in L'Eau Du Sud? Is his price fair? Would you want to ignore it? Would you want to take him? And where do you stand on him?
No, I think he's really playing for third in that. Like in a normal year, you wouldn't be saying that, but I think this is a really vintage year. Sir Gino, as I've alluded to, I think he's the total freak. Really, he's a bit of an abnormal horse. And Mashborough has looked certainly, apart from Sir Gino, the best of a really good crop of 4-year-olds. So I think, L'Eau Du Sud, he should win this. It's quite an uninspiring race, really, but this is sort of what you expect with these 2 more novice chasers in Britain that aren't handicaps. Roubaud, in terms of his hurdle form, was sort of about a similar level to L'Eau Du Sud, really. So it'd be interesting if he jumps better than he did at Kempton last time. I mean, that could Frank Sir Gino's form if he runs well. But you couldn't really give Tedley a chance or risk in the ground. They're handicappers seeking a bit of prize money. So I think I'd fully expect L'Eau Du Sud to come out and win because he has looked better over fences, whereas we can't yet say that about Roubaud.
Ed, would you want to take on the favourite here?
Yeah, I do actually. First of all, this Unibet Kingmaker is fantastic to sponsor this race, going back to 1990s, this race, and always been a good race for Cheltenham Festival winners. I mean, obviously it's a 2-mile event, but who can remember Long Run winning it in 2010 before he won the Gold Cup the next year? So not just the 2-milers, but horse normally worth looking at. But it's a disappointing field. It has to be. I mean, I'm disappointed of the 4 runners. Obviously, L'Eau Du Sud and Roubaud are horses that will win big races, but the other 2 are rather out with the washing at rated about 130. So a little bit disappointed, but will be the 2,655th race that Unibet has sponsored. So pretty proud that we sponsor so many races. I just thought the price discrepancy between the 2 was great, greater than they should be. As Robbie said, Roubaud was basically the same herder. In fact, he was a better herder than L'Eau Du Sud. L'Eau Du Sud's form, I mean, I might be wrong, but he hasn't beaten horses rated that highly. He's done it well, and he's done it in a style of a very decent horse, and he can only do what is in front of him. So I understand all that, but I mean, Roubaud would probably be the best horse he's come across in his chasing career. I mean, not Roubaud's yet to put it in chasing, but this horse was entered for the Henry VIII novices at Sandown for his chase debut by Paul Nicholls. As far as I can work out, he's only done that twice in his life. Paul made a horse run or entered a horse to run in a Grade 1 on his novice chase debut. Didn't run in the end because of the ground, and then disappointed at Kempton. But I just thought the discrepancy between the prices was too big. So I'm going to back Roubaud at around about 72-4-1. I don't think the other 2 can win. I want to take on L'Eau Du Sud, and that's the only one you can take him on with, and there's reasons to do it as well. So yeah, I'm going to take L'Eau Du Sud on.
Okay, brave man. I like it, and I also like the fact that you're counting every race. I feel you've got a big piece of paper that you're just sort of ticking along, tally all the way through. But yes, great to see the sponsorship of this race, as you say. Great history of the Kingmaker, and huge for Warwick as well. Let's move on to the 240, which is the Reed Nicky Henderson's weekly Unibet blog Mare's Hurdle, which of course you should, where Galamarceau is the hot favourite. It's been a little bit weak in the betting, but has been backed in from 6-4 to 5-4 since I've been looking over the prices now. That is your favourite for Willie Mullins, West Balboa at 2-1, You Wear It Well 7-2, Dame of the Cotswolds at 14s, Royal Margot at 20s, and Sunday Soldier at 50s. Liam, we've got You Wear It Well, Cheltenham Festival winner for Jamie Snowden, who we discussed earlier. What chance would you give this one?
I think she's got a big chance, James. You know, she's obviously been seen over fences the last few times. She ran well on her chasing debut at Bangor, but you know, things haven't really gone to plan with things since. And I just think that, you know, going back over the smaller obstacles might hopefully reignite that form that we've seen. Obviously, like you mentioned, she won at the Cheltenham Festival in 2023. And I think that she should be suited to the ground and the trip. Obviously, the yard are in terrific form, as we've touched on before. And, you know, she has that star quality to take on, you know, the field. She runs off a mark of 140. She won a listed race at Wetherby a few years ago off that same mark. So I think just going back to her old sort of stomping ground over these hurdles can sort of lift her and hopefully return her to you know the form that we've seen her over the past. So I'm happy taking on the top two in the betting and going for Snowden You Wear It Well.
Do we agree, Robbie?
Yeah, this fella loves a Lambourn trainer, doesn't he? I mean, rightly so. That's his job. But I actually do agree with Liam here about You Wear It Well. I think Gala Marceau, she wasn't last season. She wasn't quite the mare I was hoping she would turn out to be. She's obviously running for the first time since Punchtown last year. I mean, Willie Mullins trains his horses to peak in the spring. I can't imagine she's going to be fully ready. Can be quite keen as well. I mean, we saw the same connections have a beaten short price favourite Ascot, didn't we? At Cargisi at short price recently. West Balboa, I think she's potentially finished. Done at the game. I've not seen anything from her in a long time. She might come to herself eventually, but she's 9 now. I think she might be past the best. You Wear It Well has been pretty bad in chases, but the key is getting back over hurdles. We know she's got the class. She's a Cheltenham Festival winner. Actually had half an eye on her for the novice handicap at Cheltenham potentially. I don't know if that's where they might end up with her. She's been ridden differently the last couple of races. If she goes forward here, she's been held up the last couple. But if she does go forward, I could see her taking a little bit of pegging back around here, back over hurdles.
Gala Marceau, as you mentioned, 20-1 for the mares with Unibet and 40-1 for the stairs. Those are the two entries she's got at the Cheltenham Festival. Ed, what do you like?
I just thought from a form perspective, you had to be with Gala Marceau, given that she's racing against the likes of Lossiemouth last time, and these are nowhere near that. It's an interesting point Robbie makes, though, given that she did come over to Doncaster last January and get beaten at odds on before showing better form. I just thought back form, the fact that she's contested grade ones nearly all of her life, well, certainly for the last 2 seasons, this dropped down to listed company. Even if she was not 100%, that probably might negate the fact. And I'd expect Danny Mullins to come back on the winner. Okay,
let's move on to the 3:15, the last ITV race we'll be looking at. And it's one of our favourites, Ed, isn't it? Because it's the Unibet Middle Distance Series Veterans Handicap Chase. We enjoy watching these old boys in the Middle Distance Series. The favourite here is Fugitive at 5-2, but his first preference race is the Denman, which we discussed earlier in the show. Lamilos, new to the veteran scene, is at 3-1. Shake 'em Up Harry, 5-1, winner of a plate at the Cheltenham Festival last season, of course. Granard's Cottage, 13-2. Smarty Wild, 13-2. And Editor Geet, 17-2. Robbie, I teased that grade 1 horse that you were going to tip. Take us away.
Yeah, I was a big fan of that tease up, and I'm going to serve up Editor of the Geek now because he is very well handicapped. He's obviously a grade 1 winner. He won the Clarence House at Cheltenham in 2023. He's come down a long way in the last few starts. He's come down 18 pounds this season alone, but he's basically been running against sort of quick 2-milers, and he's been found out. He's 11 now, but he's in a veterans race now. I get the impression they've aimed him at this sort of series. The ground is a slight query. I got some information from Gary Moore at the start of the week because I was eyeing him up. I sent my reporters on the calls around at the start of the week for the anti-postman email, and he said he's slightly worried about the ground, but I don't think it's going to be too bad at Warwick. I could just see him sort of, we know he likes to go forward. If he jumps around, it can be hard to peg back front runners there. It's quite a tight circuit. And I really like him. At WAF 140, I think he's got one last hurrah in him.
Okay, Robbie Wilders with his team of reporters helping him out get Editor Geek at 17.
It's basically just David Carr, to be fair. And a bit of Liam. Liam's helped me out of a couple of bits over the last few weeks, so shout out to him as well.
Okay, well, a lot of brotherly love on the postcast this week. Not often what we see. Usually we're disagreeing quite strongly on selections. Are we going to be disagreeing with this one, Liam?
I am, and Robbie will be happy to know I'm not tipping a Lambourn horse for once. But that's
Whoa,
just mainly because there are no Lambourn trained horses in the race. But I'm signing with Smarty Wild, Philip Hobson, Johnson White. He's run some big races for the yard over the years, and I expect a bit of improvement from his third at Market Racing last time out. Thought he jumped well that day. He did obviously weaken towards the end, so I think this dropping trip to 2.5 miles should see him to better effect. Obviously, Yard have had a couple of winners in the last week. I think he'll be suited to the ground. He won't mind a bit of juice underfoot. I think he's rated 125 above fences now. He won off 130 at Kempton a few years ago. That was a while ago since he last won, but he has been knocking on the door, and I just think another big run is expected, really.
Yeah, no need to apologise for tipping out Lambourn horses, Liam. That's your area of experts. And if it all goes wrong, at least you've got a West Country horse to rely on for last. Ed, what have you gone for?
Yeah, this is another one of the races for the Veterans Final. There's only 2 more after this qualifiers, and then the big £100,000 final at Haydock. So this is one of the last chances to get through to that final. And I think the Skeltons are targeting Lamilos for it. And Lamilos looks a horse who, if you go on handicapping, must have a chance. Only 4 runs ago, he was rated 149, was 13-2 for the Bet365 Gold Cup, which, is a big handicap, not that long ago, and was well fancied for it. He's now running off 139. He has lost his form a little bit, but I thought he showed a turn back to his old self last time when over an inadequate 2 miles, 3.5 around Chepstow. He ran on really well to finish third. Now, this is back up to 2.5, not only half a furlong more, and he probably needs further than that. But I just like the way that he travelled that day, and it was the first bit of decent form, relatively speaking, that he's had. Obviously, a former Coral Gold Cup winner 10 runs back, and he's in a race that you can win, a Veterans Chase against horses of a similar age at the local track. I thought Lamilos had quite a lot going for him here today. He's only running 15 chases, although he's a veteran. He's won 5 of them, but he hasn't won for 10 races. He hasn't won since that Coral Gold Cup victory. So he does need to come back into the winner's enclosure. But with the Skelton team in fine form, I just thought he was worth a chance here in a race where there aren't that many horses here with a chance, I don't think. And I think this is one of his first chances of actually being competitive in a race for the very first time. If the distance was 3 miles, I'd be much more confident. But I think given the opposition, he should run a really sound race.
Okay, Ed,
and we're going extra place in this race. Sorry, James, I should say extra place for the Unibet Middle Distance Series Veterans Qualifier.
Just before we go to the break, Ed, run us through all the offers this weekend. We just got the extra place on this one. What else have we got to look forward to on the weekend?
The first race at Newbury, the 150, we're going on money back. Do check that on the website. Terms and conditions apply. Best industry price on the 225 at Newbury. That's where from 9 o'clock on Saturday, there's no need to go anywhere else. You will get the best price on whatever you back in the 225 at Newbury. We've also got extra place in this race, the 315 and the 335 at Newbury as well. And we've also got lots of price boosts to look forward to on the day, but those won't be decided until tomorrow. So, yeah, plenty of offers around the ITV races, but also the non-ITV races as well.
And we'll be finding out what the panel like from away from the ITV cameras, as well as those all-important best bets after a quick word from our sponsors.
Want betting on the horses to be anything but flat? With an app that impresses every time out. You're on. Want to watch live streaming of races in the UK, Ireland and around the globe? And get a chance to win even bigger with 3 Uniboosts every day on any horses you want. Unibet, you're on.
Okay, so before we get into our best bets, let's have a look at the racing across the weekend. Some cracking action in Britain. Newbury, the undercard looks pretty good there. Exeter on Sunday, Listed Novels Hurdle looks an absolutely fascinating prospect. Royal Regent Stroll finally bounced back the big money buy. Liam, take us away. What has caught your eye?
Yeah, I like Heracles Westwood for Warren Greytrex in the 410 at Newbury on Saturday. He's chasing a hat-trick after winning at Windsor last time. I thought he won with plenty in hand that day, and he seems to relish these staying distances. You know, he goes best on soft or heavy ground, so you know he won't mind conditions at the moment at the track. I think 4 of his 5 wins have come with soft in the going description. And he seriously has improved for the yard with every start, and he obviously won over course and distance as well in December. So I think he's the one to take out of the 410.
Yeah, Heracles Westwood. Anything on Sunday?
Sunday, sticking with my Lambourn roots. I'm going to hopefully, if Julius de Pictons gets in the listed novice hurdle at Exeter the 230, he's hardly put a foot wrong since joining the yard from France. Was narrowly touched off into second in his debut at Uttoxeter, but he followed that up with 2 impressive wins at Plumpton and on soft ground at Chepstow. I think that the Plumpton race has worked out seriously impressive. LAC and Knight finished 4th that day, won at 40-1 at Foss last next time, while Go West for Paul Nicholls has been red hot in 2 runs since. He's won by almost a combined 18 lengths. This horse holds a couple of entries for Cheltenham Festival, one in the Supreme, one in the Turners. So the yard obviously think quite a lot of him. So I'm sure this weekend, if he turns up at Exeter, will tell us where he goes next.
Yeah, so that's Heracles Westwood in the 410 at Newbury on Saturday and Julius de Pictons in the 230 Exeter on Sunday. Ed, I presume you'll be racing this weekend. What has caught your eye?
Yeah, be at Warwick for our sponsorship, and it's at Warwick we go for the extra bet off the ITV card. I'm going to have a go on a bumper horse, the final race, the 423, a mare's bumper. I've been told that number 8, Miss Denver's been going very well at home for the Twiston Davises. Well-related horse, making her debut on the course, so you've obviously got no idea how she'll actually go. And it's not a bad race either. 1 or 2 have already won and look okay sorts. But Miss Denver's been going well on the gallops. Well-related horse. Miss Denman, her mother, was a full sister to Denman. Polly Peacham is related to her. You never know. It's not a horse to get fully involved in, but could be a decent each way shot, given that there are a couple of winners in the field as well. So Miss Denver.
Good man. The only one I can add to it is it's quite a big Sunday in the Stevens' household. We sponsor a race at Chepstow on Sunday. We've named it after my nan, a memorial race, the 320.
Nice.
Sponsored by my dad's business. So we're going on mass to Chepstow, and we are hoping, my nan was a huge rugby fan, huge Wales rugby fan. Gats & Co, named after Warren Gatland, is in that race. So fingers crossed, we'll have a bit of a dream result. Hopefully they'll Wales beat Italy as well on Saturday, but no certainty there. Let's move on to our best bets and our naps. Liam, kick us off. Is there a Lambourn nap for the Lambourn man?
Yeah, there is. I'm going to stick with You Wear It Well at Warwick, as we touched on. I think going back to hurdling should really spark her back to form. She's obviously a Cheltenham Festival winner, as we've touched on before, and I think she's one to take on the front 2 in the market for Jamie Snowden.
Robbie?
Yes, mate. 225 at Newbury, the patron for me.
Ed?
I'm going to go for Lamilos, becoming well handicapped, got the back form, running against veterans for the first time, make it more easy for him. Lamilos to follow up last week's winning nap, which was nice. So, Lamilos around about 4-1.
Many congratulations. I forget to plug that at the start. So well done, Ed. Let's hope Lamilos can make it 2 out of 2. And I'm going for Washington at a big price in the 335 at Newbury. Just think this horse is a bit overpriced. Thanks very much to Liam Headd, Robbie Wilders and Ed Nicholson for their thoughts. I've been your host, James Stevens. We'll be back next week to look ahead at the Grade 1 Ascot Chase among the Saturday highlights on ITV and those last chances for those Cheltenham Festival clues. We'll have loads of Cheltenham Festival content coming on the Postcast in the weeks to come. So as ever, do rate, review and subscribe. Don't miss any of it. But until next time, enjoy the racing. Goodbye and gamble responsibly.